Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where in the world you are joining us from today. I am Diane Krokora, CEO of PartnerPath with really bad allergies, thus my eyes are all puffy. Welcome to this week's Technology Channel videocast. With me on the other coast, I have Charlene O'Hanlon. Hi, Charlene. How you doing?
I'm great.
This week, I wanted to talk about last week, which we had a channel chief roundtable last week. We had 15 channel chiefs. We gather them twice a year to talk about trends in the industry. So we had 15 vice presidents of channels from Bay Area technology companies, as well as some that are across the country. So we had IBM in the house, SAP, Alfresco, Avaya, Brocade, Riverbed. We even had representatives from Westcon. So we gathered a bunch of channel chiefs, and really, as we do twice a year, just to talk about kind of what is on their minds and how are they addressing things like the partner experience and cloud transformation. So it was really, as always, an interesting conversation when you get 15 people in a room.
I imagine it was a bit like herding cats.
It's a little herding cats, and it's a little therapy. A lot of the channel chiefs are saying, they have a lot of the similar challenges.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't surprise me. I took a look at the list of folks, and some names I recognized, some names I didn't. But I would imagine that not much has changed in the last 6 months or so since you did the last roundtable. I mean, conversations I would imagine were pretty similar.
Yeah, I think that the conversation some of the challenges are similar. We always kind of try to solve some problems and move the needle with this group. And the overarching theme is around digital transformation, both their own as organizations, and how the customer's buying journey is moving towards kind of a digital buying journey, and how do we bring the partners along in that, in terms of not only how do the partners market and sell in a more kind of digital and kind of more randomized buyer's journey, but also how do they deliver on that cloud or subscription model. And that kind of seemed to be our overarching theme of this year's or this time's conversation, and really kind of we got fairly deep into some of the opportunities and challenges there.
Well, it's interesting. Digital transformation encompasses so many different things, and I think it's the buzzword of the year because every conversation I'm having about IT these days, regardless of whether the channel is involved, involves digital transformation. And so I think part of the issue is the fact that because it means so many different things to so many different people, I think we need to make sure that the conversations that are going on are the conversations that you're supposed to be having, rather than, make sure that both sides are on the same page, if you will, to make sure that to them digital transformation means the same thing as what you're saying. That said, I imagine that the channel-focused digital transformation conversation is, becoming a little bit more muddied by, or not muddied by, cloud services and building infrastructures and things of that nature. I mean, that's where I think where the money is going to be made in digital transformation, at least for these kind of more traditional solution providers, the guys that are, maybe considered more the box pushers and the infrastructure builders.
Yeah, and in the conversation with the channel chiefs, we went kind of through 4 or 5 different topics that kind of touched on digital transformation. We talked a lot about the millennials in the market, both in our organizations as vendors, as well as kind of the next generation of solution providers and kind of the millennials there. But one of the really things that kind of stuck through the 2-hour conversation was on managing complexity, and managing complexity with the partners and the partner programs and the different business models, and how do the vendors really help those partners manage through their even very complex partner programs. So it really, we kind of continued to come back to this idea of the channels getting more complex, the programs are getting more complex, the business models are varied, and are we doing a rather large disservice in the vendor community around kind of this of Rubik's Cube?
It's interesting, digital transformation and all this technology was really supposed to make our lives easier, but it's kind of ending up making it more complex and more difficult to manage. It's like the great paradox. And how this, just as a point of curiosity, how do you think the millennials are kind of factoring into this digital transformation conversation? Because I'm just wondering if they're getting tired of getting beat up all the time.
Well, I think in terms of our conversation with the channel chiefs, it was more around how do we engage and enable a millennial any differently than a kind of a traditional reseller that may have been in the business for 20 to 30 years, right? Are there different ways to communicate and educate and motivate kind of the next generation of either channel providers, channel partners, as well as the kind of channel chiefs in the industry as well?
Okay, all right. So basically the millennials on, because now there's this new generation beyond the millennials that are entering the workforce, and they're like, hey, we don't want to be grouped in with those millennials. Everybody hates the millennials. But anyway, right. I divert. Digression is such a hard thing to handle sometimes. It's when it comes to digital transformation, I think definitely the channel needs to be very aware of the fact that companies, their customers, are going to need to transform their businesses, and it's almost like a domino effect. But leading that charge should be the vendors getting their channel partners or solution provider partners ready in their business for that digital transformation. So I think there's a lot the vendor can do to help kind of move that along.
Yeah, and it's part of our ongoing discussion as well as we continue with these channel chiefs in the next kind of 6 months as well, and as a theme for our ongoing work and ongoing discussions with these guys. So it's really exciting to continue to see channel chiefs from competitive even organizations come together to try to solve a larger industry or the same problems or the same challenges that they're each facing. And we really were excited to kind of see the collaboration and the sharing of at the roundtable and trying to solve and address some of these issues and kind of talk out loud about it. So thank you as well, Charlene, for taking some time with me this morning to talk through them.
Hey, no problem, Diane. Did any of them offer up any pearls of wisdom?
Yeah, we had quite a few conversations and ideas and some best practices and innovative ideas, and maybe we'll touch on those next week.